What if the most powerful upgrade to your performance did not begin in the bedroom at all, but in the quiet, dimly lit moments before you fall asleep, when your body is repairing itself and your mind is finally unguarded? And what if a simple, intentional nighttime oil routine could become the difference between feeling anxious and depleted or confident, energized and deeply connected to your partner? When most men think about improving performance, they immediately focus on quick fixes, pills, stimulants, or high-pressure techniques that promise instant results. Yet they often overlook the foundation of masculine vitality, which is circulation, nerve sensitivity, hormonal balance, and relaxation, all of which are heavily influenced by what happens at night. The body enters its most restorative state during sleep. Testosterone production peaks, growth hormone rises, tissues repair, and the nervous system resets. And this is precisely why a carefully chosen oil routine can have such a profound effect. Oils, when used properly, are not magic potions, but they can support blood flow, reduce inflammation, nourish skin and connective tissue, and most importantly, create a ritual that signals safety and calm to the brain. Performance is not only physical, it is psychological, and tension is one of the biggest silent killers of intimacy. When a man carries stress into bed, his sympathetic nervous system remains activated, cortisol stays elevated, and the body struggles to fully relax into arousal. A warm oil massage before sleep shifts the body into a parasympathetic state, slowing the heart rate, deepening breathing, and improving circulation to the extremities. Over time, this consistent nightly signal teaches the body that night is a time for restoration rather than worry. Oils such as cold-pressed sesame oil, coconut oil, or sweet almond oil have been traditionally used for body massage because they penetrate gently and help maintain skin elasticity. When combined with a few drops of essential oils like lavender for relaxation or sandalwood for grounding, the experience becomes more than physical care. It becomes a ritual of self-respect. The key is not aggressive friction or rushed application, but slow, mindful movements that stimulate blood flow without strain. Beginning with warm hands and slightly warmed oil, a man can massage his thighs, lower abdomen, and pelvic region in slow circular motions, encouraging circulation to the entire lower body. This improves vascular responsiveness over time, which is essential for stronger and more reliable erections. But beyond the mechanics, the psychological effect is equally powerful. When a man spends 10 to 15 intentional minutes caring for his own body, he strengthens his relationship with himself. Shame, insecurity, and performance anxiety often shrink when replaced with consistent self-attention. Another overlooked benefit is improved skin sensitivity. As men age, skin can become drier and less responsive. Regular oil massage helps maintain suppleness and nerve sensitivity, which can enhance pleasure perception. This does not mean overstimulation or obsessive focus. In fact, moderation is critical. The goal is nourishment, not strain. Gentle massage increases nitric oxide activity indirectly by supporting healthy blood vessels and reducing stress. Over weeks, many men report not only stronger morning erections, but also improved confidence because their body feels more responsive. Sleep quality also improves. Oils like lavender and chamomile calm the mind, and when sleep deepens, testosterone production benefits. Hormonal balance is one of the pillars of male performance, and chronic sleep deprivation is one of the fastest ways to sabotage it. By linking oil massage with a consistent bedtime, the brain forms an association between the scent, the touch, and rest. Eventually, simply beginning the routine triggers relaxation. There is also an emotional layer that cannot be ignored. If a man is in a relationship, inviting his partner to occasionally participate transforms the routine into intimacy building rather than solitary maintenance. Touch without expectation creates safety. When touch becomes pressure-free, arousal later becomes more natural and less forced. many couples struggle because every physical interaction feels like it must lead somewhere. A nighttime oil ritual removes that pressure and replaces it with presence. It teaches both partners that connection is not a performance, but a shared experience. Even for single men, this practice rebuilds body awareness. Performance challenges are often rooted in disconnection from one's own physical sensations. By slowing down and tuning in nightly, sensitivity increases and anxiety decreases. Of course, hygiene and safety are important. Oils should be natural, free of synthetic fragrances, and patch-tested to avoid irritation. The area should be clean, and excessive pressure should be avoided. This is about supporting the body, not forcing it. Hydration during the day, regular movement, and balanced nutrition amplify the effects. A nighttime oil routine is not a standalone miracle. It is a catalyst that works best when combined with overall health habits. What makes it transformative is consistency. One night will relax you, but 30 nights can retrain your nervous system. 90 nights can rebuild confidence. Over time, the ritual becomes symbolic. It says, I am worth care. I am not rushing. I am not panicking about performance. And paradoxically, when urgency fades, performance improves. The body responds best when it feels safe. Anxiety constricts blood vessels, while calm expands them. Intimacy thrives on relaxation. When a man learns to associate night with restoration instead of stress scrolling, overthinking, or late-night stimulants, his body begins to operate from a stronger baseline. He wakes with more energy. He feels more grounded. He enters intimacy with presence rather than fear. And that is where true performance begins. Not in the moment of action, but in the quiet discipline of nightly care that builds strength from the inside out. As this routine deepens, what truly separates a casual attempt from a transformative practice is intention, timing, and awareness of how the body responds over weeks rather than days. Most men abandon rituals because they expect immediate dramatic change, but performance is built like strength training, through repetition, patience, and progressive awareness. The ideal time for a nighttime oil routine is 30 to 40 minutes before sleep, after screens are off and the nervous system has already begun winding down. Blue light and mental stimulation delay melatonin release and keep the brain alert. So if a man massages his body while still scrolling or answering emails, he blunts the calming effect. Instead, dim the lights, allow the room to cool slightly, and treat the ritual as a transition from the external world into the internal one. Warm the oil gently by placing the bottle in a cup of warm water for a few minutes rather than microwaving it, because gentle warmth enhances absorption and signals comfort to the skin. Begin with slow breathing before even touching the oil, inhaling deeply through the nose and exhaling longer than the inhale, which activates the vagus nerve and encourages parasympathetic dominance. When the breath slows, the heart follows, and circulation redistributes more efficiently. Start by massaging the shoulders and neck first, not the pelvic area, because tension often accumulates in the upper body and indirectly restricts lower body blood flow. Slow circular motions across the chest and abdomen increase awareness and stimulate superficial blood vessels. Move gradually to the hips and inner thighs, using deliberate, patient strokes that encourage warmth without urgency. The pelvic floor, often overlooked, plays a crucial role in erectile strength and endurance. Gentle massage around the lower abdomen and perineal area can increase circulation and awareness, but it must always remain comfortable and never painful. The objective is nourishment, not intensity. Over time, men who practice this routine often notice improved control because they become more attuned to subtle sensations. Awareness precedes control. When a man knows his body's early signals of arousal, he can regulate pace and breathing during intimacy more effectively. Oils such as black seed oil in small diluted amounts or olive oil infused with garlic have traditional reputations for supporting circulation, though they should be used cautiously and diluted properly to avoid irritation. The focus remains on overall tissue health rather than targeting a single organ. Another important dimension is mindset. Many performance challenges are rooted in anticipatory anxiety. A man may enter intimacy already worrying about whether he will maintain firmness or satisfy his partner, and this mental chatter alone can disrupt arousal. The nighttime oil ritual becomes a daily rehearsal of calm. When practiced consistently, the brain begins to associate physical touch with relaxation rather than evaluation. That association rewires the stress response over time. Consider pairing the routine with gratitude or positive visualization. As the oil is applied, imagine blood flowing freely, muscles relaxed, breath steady, confidence present. Visualization is not fantasy. It is neurological training. The brain does not sharply distinguish between vividly imagined and physically experienced sensations, so rehearsing confidence at night strengthens it in reality. Sleep following the ritual is often deeper, and deeper sleep correlates with healthier testosterone rhythms. Testosterone peaks during REM cycles and early morning hours. When sleep is fragmented, hormonal pulses weaken. By calming the body nightly, you protect the very hormonal environment that fuels libido and stamina. Hydration also matters. Drinking adequate water throughout the day supports plasma volume, which directly influences circulation. No oil can compensate for dehydration or chronic inflammation caused by poor diet. Performance is systemic. The ritual works because it supports the system rather than forcing a single outcome. For men in long-term relationships, introducing this practice can open unexpected emotional intimacy. Instead of presenting it as a fix for a problem, frame it as shared wellness. Invite your partner to experience a shoulder or back massage in exchange without expectations. When touch becomes mutual care instead of a performance gateway, trust deepens. Trust lowers anxiety. Lower anxiety improves arousal. It is a cycle that feeds itself positively when approached with patience. Communication is also essential. If a man has experienced past embarrassment related to performance, the ritual can become a quiet space to process that emotion. While massaging, he might acknowledge old fears without judgment and let them dissolve with each exhale. Emotional release and physical relaxation are intertwined. The pelvic region stores tension when shame or stress goes unresolved. Gentle nightly care sends the message that the body is safe. Over weeks, the difference can be subtle but profound. Morning erections may feel stronger. Sensitivity may improve. Recovery time between intimate encounters may shorten. Most importantly, confidence begins to feel internal rather than dependent on a single moment of validation. However, moderation remains critical. Overstimulation or excessive friction can create irritation, desensitization, or psychological dependency on the ritual. The goal is balance. 2 to 5 minutes focused on the pelvic area is often sufficient within a broader 15-minute routine. Allow at least 1 or 2 nights per week of complete rest to let tissues recover naturally. Think of it as strength training for circulation and awareness, not constant activation. If any discomfort, numbness, or persistent issues arise, professional medical advice should be sought because underlying vascular or hormonal conditions require proper evaluation. A ritual supports health. It does not replace medical care when needed. As this practice becomes integrated into nightly life, its greatest gift may not be improved erections alone, but a shift in identity. Instead of seeing performance as something fragile that must be defended, a man begins to see himself as steady, patient, and capable. That inner steadiness radiates outward. Partners sense it. Intimacy becomes less about proving and more about connecting. And when connection replaces pressure, desire has room to grow naturally. As this ritual matures from a technique into a lifestyle rhythm, its deepest transformation begins to reveal itself. Not just in physical response, but in how a man carries himself during the day, how he enters the bedroom, and how he relates to intimacy as a whole. Performance, when stripped of ego and urgency, is not about hardness alone, nor duration alone, nor even frequency. It is about responsiveness, presence, and the ability to remain connected to sensation without being hijacked by fear. A consistent nighttime oil routine trains precisely those qualities because it conditions the nervous system to associate touch with safety, breath with control, and arousal with calm instead of panic. Over months, not weeks, the body begins to trust itself again. That trust is subtle but powerful. It shows up in posture, in eye contact, in the way a man initiates intimacy without overcompensating. When he has invested in his own restoration night after night, he no longer approaches closeness from depletion. He approaches it from surplus. Surplus energy feels different. It is slower, steadier, less desperate. And partners feel that difference immediately. The physiological changes compound quietly in the background. Improved circulation from gentle massage and reduced stress hormones create a more reliable vascular response. Better sleep strengthens hormonal balance. Lower baseline anxiety keeps the sympathetic nervous system from interfering at critical moments. The pelvic floor, subtly awakened through mindful awareness, becomes more responsive and easier to regulate. This translates into greater endurance, not because of force, but because of control. Control does not mean suppression, it means the ability to modulate intensity. A man who breathes deeply and recognizes early waves of arousal can ride them rather than being overwhelmed by them. That skill is rehearsed nightly when he slows his breathing and feels his body without rushing toward climax. The ritual becomes a quiet training ground for staying present inside sensation. There is also an emotional reclamation that takes place. Many men carry silent narratives about performance, comparisons from past experiences, cultural expectations about masculinity, or unspoken disappointments. These narratives live in the body as tension. The lower abdomen tightens, the hips stiffen, the breath shortens. When night after night a man places warm oil on his skin and moves slowly, he is not only increasing blood flow, he is dissolving old narratives through repetition of safety. The message becomes embodied rather than intellectual. I am not under threat. I am not being judged. I am allowed to relax. From this relaxed state, authentic desire becomes easier to access. Desire thrives in safety, not in scrutiny. Long-term intimacy flourishes when both partners feel chosen rather than evaluated, when a man's confidence is rooted in self-care rather than performance anxiety. He listens more, touches more attentively, and responds more intuitively. The oil routine indirectly enhances communication because it increases body awareness. A man who understands his own sensations can articulate them better. He can say what feels good, what pace works, when he needs to slow down without shame. That openness invites reciprocity. Intimacy becomes collaborative rather than performative. Over time, the bedroom shifts from being a stage to being a sanctuary. Consistency is what separates transformation from temporary improvement. A single inspired week may feel encouraging, but true rewiring occurs when the ritual becomes non-negotiable, like brushing teeth or setting an alarm. Even on nights when intimacy is not anticipated, the practice continues. Especially on nights of stress or fatigue, it becomes more important. This steadiness teaches discipline without harshness. It says that vitality is built quietly. There will be evenings when motivation dips or when results feel plateaued. Those are the nights that matter most, because discipline during doubt strengthens identity. A man who keeps his commitment to himself builds a kind of internal integrity that no supplement can replicate. It is important, however, to keep perspective. The oil is a tool, not a talisman. If deeper medical concerns exist, such as persistent erectile dysfunction, severe hormonal imbalance, or chronic illness, professional guidance is essential. The ritual supports healthy systems. It does not override pathology. Likewise, mental health plays a crucial role. If anxiety, depression, or relationship conflict are present, addressing them directly amplifies the benefits of any physical routine. Holistic improvement is layered. Sleep, nutrition, strength training, cardiovascular movement, emotional honesty, and stress management all interlock. The nighttime oil routine acts as a keystone habit because it influences multiple systems simultaneously: circulation, relaxation, self-image, and relational connection. As months pass, what often surprises men most is not the improvement in firmness or stamina, though those may indeed improve. It is the sense of grounded masculinity that emerges. Grounded masculinity is calm, not frantic. It does not rush toward proof. It does not collapse at minor setbacks. It understands that the body fluctuates and that fluctuations are normal. With this perspective, occasional off nights lose their power. Anxiety does not spiral. Recovery becomes faster because fear does not compound the issue. Confidence stabilizes because it is no longer tied to a single performance, but to a consistent pattern of self-care. In relationships, this steadiness can reignite attraction. When a partner sees effort that is not desperate but disciplined, it communicates value. It says that intimacy matters enough to prepare for. Preparation itself can be arousing because it signals intention. Even subtle changes such as smoother skin, warmer touch, and slower breathing can shift the entire tone of an encounter. Instead of rushing toward a goal, both partners can savor progression. Sensation becomes layered. Eye contact lingers. Foreplay extends naturally because there is no underlying panic about endurance. Ironically, the less a man obsesses over lasting, the longer he often does, because tension no longer accelerates the process. Ultimately, the nighttime oil routine is not about oil at all. It is about reclaiming agency over your nervous system, your habits, and your relationship to intimacy. It is about recognizing that performance is a byproduct of health and presence. When you nurture your body consistently, calm your mind intentionally, and approach touch without pressure, you create the internal conditions where vitality thrives. Confidence then becomes the natural outcome of alignment between body and mind. So when you think about boosting performance, do not imagine dramatic interventions or overnight miracles. Picture instead a dimly lit room, a few quiet minutes, warm oil between your palms, steady breath, and a promise kept to yourself. Night after night, that simple act compounds. Circulation improves, sleep deepens, anxiety softens, awareness sharpens, connection strengthens, and over time, what began as a small ritual becomes a foundation for enduring intimacy, resilient confidence, and a form of masculine presence that feels both powerful and peaceful.